Hello, I'm Karen from theneedlefelter.com. In my last video, we dove into the world of felting needles. Today, we're focusing on the unsung hero of needle felting, the felting mat. This is FAQ number 4 in my series, and we're answering the question, what are needle felting mats and what kind should I use? Everything I share in this video will be listed in my blog post, the video description, and pinned comment below. Let's get into it. A needle felting mat serves several purposes. First, it protects your table, your work surface, or your lap from being scratched or damaged by the needles. And to show you an example, if I was needle felting this without a mat, you can see all the holes that the needle makes. Imagine if that's your tabletop. Second, it protects your needle tips from becoming dull, bending, or breaking. The mat absorbs the impact, preventing your needles from hitting a hard surface like a tabletop. Third, it provides support for your work, so you are felting into something rather than air felting. All of these elements work together so you are more successful. Let's explore the different types of felting mats and their pros and cons. I'm going to start with plastic mats. These are often included in beginner felting kits and are generally made from a sponge-like or more compressed polyfoam, basically plastic packing material. There's this kind that is like the more spongy, and this kind is a little more solid, a little more dense. The pros for these are they're inexpensive and can be cut to any size. The cons are they are noisy. They wear out quickly, often just after a few projects, and they can be hard to find. Next, we have high-density foam mats. These are thick, usually black, and are made from a solid type of foam. The pros for these are they are available in a variety of sizes, they're easy to find, relatively inexpensive, and lightweight. The cons are they can also be a little noisy. They tend to soften after a few uses, and pieces can break off. One caution with these is you want to make sure you're getting the high density foam mat, not upholstery foam. It's often treated with fire retardant chemicals, and those chemicals are released during felting. There are also soy foam mats available. I don't have one of those to show you. The pros on those is that they're more environmentally friendly. The cons are that they are more expensive. They tend to be thinner, so you may need to stack 2 for sufficient padding. The next type of mat is a burlap or hessian mat. These are a burlap bag or pillow filled with rice or buckwheat husks. The pros with these are they're inexpensive and available in a variety of sizes. You can even make your own. The cons are because they're filled with rice and buckwheat husks, they're heavier than other mats. They can leak their filler, especially as they get used and wear down a little bit. They can develop holes. And the burlap fibers can break off and attach to your work. Next are wool felting mats. These come in a lot of different shapes, sizes, and colors. They are 100% wool and relatively lightweight. And I just wanted to point out these two are from Desert Breeze. They may look like a pressing mat, and I'll talk about those in a minute, but these are not. These are true felting pads. They're much softer and thicker than a wool pressing mat. So the pros with these are they're easy to find, they're quieter. Compared to other mats, they last a long time. And if you're so inclined, you can actually make your own. The cons with these are they are more expensive than some of the other options. Wool fibers from these mats can break off and attach to your piece, and they can be a little difficult to clean. Watch until the end because I'll share a tip to avoid those last 2 cons. The next type of felting surface is a brush mat. These are flat back brushes with bristles. The pros with these are they're easy to find and they last a very long time. The cons with these are the bristles move as you work, which can be a little tricky to handle, especially if you're working on a tiny piece. Also, the hard base can bend or break your needles. I find them a little difficult to clean, and you are limited to a relatively small working area compared to other types of mats. And finally, there are wool pressing mats. These dense wool mats are usually used for ironing fabric. Let me show you the difference between this and the wool felting pad. The felting pad is softer than the pressing mat. The pressing mat is also much thinner than the felting pad. The pros for these are because they are dense, they're super easy to clean, and they tend not to transfer fibers to your work the way that the other fiber mats do. The cons are that because they're so dense and hard, they can cause hand fatigue. I found they also don't protect your surface very well because you can stick thinner needles right through them. So these are better if you use them with another mat under them. Now that we've explored different mats, let's talk about what I use most often. For wool paintings, I use black foam mats. I find they support the piece better than any other type of mat. The one thing I do that might be a little different from other felters that you see is that I don't leave my wool painting on the mat until it's finished. I lift it up and reposition it several times during the process of making it. I find that reduces the amount of damage to the mat and my mats last longer. For everything else, I use Wool Buddy's large and small mats. I also rely on Serafina Fiber Arts mini stabbits. These are wonderful for helping support thin necks or legs as you're working on an animal. I promised a tip at the end to help you avoid color transfer when using wool mats. The easiest way to keep your work clean is to cover your mat with a felt sheet. This simple barrier minimizes the transfer of fibers from the mat to your work. I believe it also makes my mats last longer and helps prevent my work from sticking to the mat. The felt sheets I use are a wool blend, which makes them more affordable than 100% wool sheets. I also try to felt light colors on one side of my mat and dark colors on the other, and I do the same with my felt sheets. If I'm working with a light color animal, I use a light color felt sheet. If I'm working with a darker colored animal, I'll use a darker colored felt sheet. So there you have it, a complete guide to needle felting mats. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And that's it for this FAQ. I hope you found it helpful and it inspires you to felt something. And if you don't felt, make something. See you next time.